Chandra, oh my goodness, it's so sweet to have some one-on-one time with you right now.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
It's rare. We have group time, but it's
Yes,
rare to have one-on-one time. So I
I
know it's being
agree.
recorded for the world, but here we go.
Yeah.
Um, so you are one of the newest members of my Rock Your Biz training program. And so what we're going to do in this video today is talk a little bit about your history and what brought you here, and then what it's like to be so new starting your business and what the challenges are and what the excitements are. So maybe you could just introduce yourself to folks first and say a little bit about what you've been doing in the world of education up until now and why academic coaching is an exciting next step for you.
Okay. So my name is Chandra, and I have been in education since forever. I come from a family of educators. So it was kind of I did a little bit of a stint in corporate America, and then it was kind of a natural progression to land in education. So I started off as an English teacher, moved into school counseling, did some work as an administrator in employee relations at the school district here, and then found myself then working as a college professor. And I did that or I have been doing that as an adjunct.
Mm.
And if anybody knows, it is rewarding because you have that academic freedom, but you don't have that pay.
It being an adjunct.
Being an adjunct, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm at the community college level, which I really, really enjoy. I tend to work with first generation students who are, really getting introduced to college or trade schools, and working with them in terms of their success strategies. So I've taught what I've taught in the classroom has been similar to what we're learning as an academic coach. I just haven't necessarily done it one-on-one individually with students, but I do teach that, face to face, and I love it. I am a strong believer that those are foundational principles that can carry you through life, So I have flourished and done quite well with, doing it as an adjunct. I just needed something else, or in addition to doing it, in terms of income for one, and then in terms of my own personal goals.
Mhm. And you and I have talked about this off camera. Well, actually,
Right?
always on camera because we've only met on Zoom. But anyway, off
Yeah.
recording. We've talked about one of the ways you and I are kindred spirits are that we have adventure in us, and we have in us that we don't want to do things the normal way that society asks us to. And so I think it would be fun to share some of your vision around how academic coaching also you're hoping it will support that adventurous
Yes.
spirit in you.
Yeah. One of the things when I was in corporate America, I just it just didn't feel good on my skin. There was nothing wrong with it, and I can look back now and see that I could have gone a lot further than what I was willing to do. So, and I couldn't at that time figure out what it was that I thought I needed to do. Like, I know I knew by the time I was in education, and especially by the time I became a college professor, I knew that this was the age group that I was interested in. I knew that I needed the freedom, like that was one of my work values. I knew that I needed to have autonomy and do my own thing, and then have a degree of creativity. And I did not feel that some of my jobs when I was in corporate fit that paradigm. So when I was an adjunct, and I still am actually, but doing that, I was able to, kind of do those kind of things where I could have that creativity and freedom and autonomy, and just I'm good at my own self-regulation and self-management. But when I found academic coaching, then I thought, well, that may actually tie into a dream that I have, and that is to travel because that is my jam. I have wanderlust, I'm that person who likes to read on a culture, experience it, learn, and then what is beautiful about it is then share it in some form or fashion in the classroom or with students, to make a parallel. So academic coaching will allow that for me to be able to do that by still, being, having some social responsibility in terms of what I'm doing every day by impacting someone else's life. And then, once I'm done, then going out and experiencing some other culture or being, out. And it's not that I want to, like literally sitting in a coffee shop in the Dominican or, somewhere else just kind of feeds my soul. So that is kind of what I want to do in terms of making this something that I do, so that on the other end of it, I can kind of do that, kind of be that digital nomad kind of thing.
I love it. I love it so much. And I love that you have a big vision.
Yeah.
And I too have a desire to be out and about in the world and also keep my business afloat. So I'm excited to support you with that. And I was also really excited to hear that you're going to do a little practice run.
Yes.
Starting this Wednesday. Will you tell the people a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my husband and I we were trying to figure out where to go for our anniversary and my birthday and all of that, and thought that it would be a good idea to go to Colombia because they have, from my understanding and my research, that is where a lot of digital nomads are. And so we will be there and I'll be working these modules, doing my thing. And then like literally my visualization will be in some sense reality because we'll be there and do my work. I still have to do some work as a professor, do my modules, use my checklist to keep myself, on task. And then, kind of that whole idea, work hard, play hard. And then when I close my laptop, then go out and experience, and just be a part of the culture. So I am really excited to be doing that. We tend to, travel a lot as much as we can, but given that, I don't know if we're post COVID or where we are now, I think that has opened the door to that possibility in a different way that it wasn't there before. So for me, it was great timing for me to land and discover your course because initially I was trying to reinvent the wheel and that was overwhelming for me. And so this allows me to stay the course, but then have structure to it because I work better, even though I like to be creative, I work better with a structure, so that's
the best improvisation is
yeah.
extreme creativity and freedom within constraints, right?
Yes.
So my Launch Your Biz curriculum provides the constraints of first do this, then do this, then do the other thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Come to community when you're struggling. But then you have the freedom to play within that. And you're gonna do it in Colombia for a few. So let's talk about, so you're 6 weeks in, you started with me, this is May, mid-May 2022, you started April 1st. For people who are considering joining the Rock Your Biz training, I think it would be helpful for them to hear what's it like to be a newbie, what's hard, what's overwhelming, what's exciting. Just paint a little bit of a picture about what the last 6 weeks have been like for you.
You know what? I'm gonna say that what I found was that it has been a good experience, but that I noticed that I am literally living what my students live by trying something new and then having to employ my own executive function, and then seeing where my strength is and where my weaknesses are, because just like when I'm in the classroom, because I can literally hear myself talking to my students when I'm going through when I'm going through the modules. I hear me. And it is one, it's laid out in front of me so that I can, because like I said, I'm good at self-regulation. It can be those distractions, like those real life distractions that can get in the way. So
Like
the
we were just
modules,
talking about ending one term at your college and then starting a new term. I
yes,
disappeared a little bit, which is fine. You're allowed to. That's
yeah,
why programs a year long.
yeah.
And it was hard for you to maintain both at the same time.
Correct, because there are only 24 hours in the day. You've got, your responsibilities, you got this and that. And when I had that break for the term, I was able to, and I had just started, I could go all the way in. But then I started slowing down because then my responsibilities started increasing. And then I started thinking, okay, how am I going to do this? And it's kind of like with students. It's the same thing that we're going to be talking about with students. Like, how do I do this and manage, having a personal life, my professional life, or my school life? How do I do that? And then trying to figure that out. Well, my own self-talk or inner talk was telling me you need to scale back and do the modules uh, in bite size. Do that instead. That if you just touch it, maybe every day, set that goal where you just touch it. If it's just 30 minutes, or it's, because the race is not given to the swift, but to the strong, and have the perseverance for it. So I was aware of it, but what I liked about your course was that you can literally use it as a checklist for that in itself. Because I am that person. When I first discovered your course, I am that person who, like, I like to see the whole thing. What am I doing? So that, because I'm that person, generally speaking, I make a I plan, I do a pre-plan for the plan, you know.
Which is why you're becoming an academic coach, because that's
Yes,
a really good thing to do.
that's what I do. I mean, like, back in the day, when even in college, I had that Franklin Covey planner.
Yes.
I'm dating myself, but I had a planner in school because I was busy. I was, my personal life, and then I was the editor of the school newspaper, and I was doing all these other things and all of that. And I found that to be very successful, but I work better on a checklist, and then when I'm working on your module and then it says mark as complete, well, that gives me a sense of satisfaction, because then I'm going in the right direction. I've done something and I'm making that happen for myself,
Yes.
And so there's a level of a sense of accomplishment
Yeah.
that I have with that.
Well,
So
I want to point out to people who haven't seen the curriculum
uh,
that in Launch Your Biz, I literally, this is the beauty of learning from somebody who's both a teacher and an academic coach. So I've literally started every module with a verb, and
yes.
every activity within each module as a verb, so you know what you need to do, so you can use it as a literal checklist if
Yes.
you want.
Yeah. And that works for somebody like me. That works very well, because I'm more of a, like, when I would look at it, I could plan, like, okay, well, this, in terms of my week, I can spend this amount of time, or I need more time. Now, I will say this, there are other things that get in the way, like just those responsibilities. But then at the same time, like I was out of town these last 2 weeks, and so I really kind of fell off because of the demands of life and my responsibilities. But what I could do was still connect by listening to the replay of a call, and that would still keep me still connected, so that I wouldn't venture off too far into the responsibilities. Because again, I know what I'm doing. I know that I'm being busy versus productive. because me being productive is going to get me to the academic coaching a lot faster. But the busyness of stuff just gets in the way, and so it's trying to balance the two. So I had decided that had I, it just kind of caught me off guard, that in retrospect, the things that I could have done, because I do like to self-reflect, and I have to be careful because, sometimes it can be, you can put too much, not give yourself enough grace,
right.
But at the time I thought, well, let me just go do these things and then I'll just get back to it. And then 2 weeks went by and I realized, like, maybe you should have done this and chunked it instead in little bite-sized pieces, instead of like when you had the time before the new term started, where you could just like literally go to Starbucks and sit and, spend your time on it. I needed to just use that checklist. If it was just read a paragraph, watch a video in that module, do one of the reflection journals, think about the planning part of it, think about one of the pieces, and then do something that would have gotten me a lot further. So I've had to learn that lesson.
Here's what's beautiful though. It only took you 6 weeks to be able to articulate that lesson. So that's amazing. You did that really quickly. Number two, what's beautiful about that? I'm glad that was your path. I'm glad you didn't do it, quote unquote, right the first time, because now you can tell students, oh my God, I did this training program. Starting up this program was overwhelming, just like starting up a semester, overwhelming. Yes. I thought I could just go whatever, and get back to my homework. But did I? Nope. 2 weeks later, here I was, and students will trust you even more because you understand intimately what the problems are. And then you pulled yourself into the solution, or probably more realistically, because the solution, you're not going to be perfect for the rest of this year. It's going to be a constant dance between procrastinating and forgetting that you learned, and then coming back to being productive. And, it's probably going to swing. But again, that's human. So students will trust you. And what we are teaching as academic coaches is how to notice when you're in a bad pattern, and how to swing back, and then how to notice, and then how to swing back. Like, that is the biggest life lesson.
Yeah, and I see that, and like I said, I could hear myself talking to my students in the classroom, and the first thing that I start off with is your self-awareness. Like, are you aware of where you are? And then if I'm aware, then I can self-evaluate, like what I did right, what did I not do right, like where are my strengths and weaknesses, and then finally, like my self-improvement, like then what's my improvement plan, so that I can get myself back on course. And that is what I'm teaching, but like actually living, and then figuring out how to then speak and say what I want, because there's a part in Rock Your Biz where you have to I can, just because I live by those checklists, I tend to like to do things perfectly. And you're very clear about not doing that. And that has not been the easiest thing for me to, do. To just be okay with it, not with me like, oh, well, I got to go do some more research. Oh, I really, that's not right. Instead of just moving, forward and being vulnerable to the process, but then using it as a tool to learn. So it's been something.
Yeah. And I think practicing that imperfect action is, it's useful. It's useful to getting faster to your business. That's something that I have learned, but it is also really countercultural, because the culture talks about perfectionism, number one, and then number two, as people with multiple marginalized identities, for me, my womanhood, for you, your woman of colorhood, we have been taught that we have to be more perfect in order to meet the man standard or the white standard or whatever. And so there's an aspect of that may be true culturally, that important for you to try and have it be more perfect. And yet, it's something to question because you're beautiful and skilled, and like you have this whole so many people coming into my program have this entire life experience already that is worthwhile. And so one of my passions is helping you see that really what you bring right now is absolutely enough, and you don't need to be more or better, even though you've lived a life where the culture has told you that over and over and over. It's something I've had to fight in myself, and I don't have a fun concluding statement to that. But
No, you're
I'm
right.
passionate about helping you have that dance, have it be high quality where it needs to be high quality, but
Yeah.
also recognize that high quality in your mind
Mm.
is a standard that maybe you don't need, because I see you and you are already high quality
Mhm.
as you are now.
And that you it's that inner dialogue can be difficult, because and to your point, you're right, because everything now looks so glossy and nice and perfect. If you go out to Instagram, if you go on Facebook, if you don't see where people are stumbling and falling. So it can make you think, well, then I need to have everything together. Like I need to look like I am, just well put together. And I know, and it's a constant reminder, because there have been plenty of times I have been in that classroom and I'm talking, and then I am listening to myself and I'm thinking, do you know what you're talking about? Oh,
Oh, that humility though, it's so refreshing for
right.
adults to have that humility with students. And I would love it if you did decide to do social media, which you don't have to do, but I think it would be so beautiful if you were willing to reflect on social media. Well, caught myself procrastinating again. I don't know
Could
why I
be
can't get it together.
me because I have to remember that the thing that has worked best is that actually when you show that vulnerability,
Mhm.
you make a better connection with people.
Yeah.
Because I will be in the classroom and stop and say, did that make sense to y'all? Because I
Mm.
don't know if it made sense to me.
Right.
Or, like, let me go back and redo this, or let me get back to you, and be okay with not being okay
Yeah.
or not being right, you
Yeah.
know.
So important.
So
And so
it
countercultural again.
it is very countercultural,
Mhm.
and you can get caught up in that, because when you're standing in front of people and all eyes are on you, you want to give people what they've paid for, you want to give them more, and you want to come across as a subject matter expert. You
Yeah.
want to do that.
Yeah.
But even then, you still fumble and won't have all the answers. And that's okay. I know that in the classroom, but and I've been able to use humor and kind of be kind to myself in front of people.
Mhm.
But sitting here sometimes with the module, I'm thinking, man, how am I going to create a package that really speaks to what they're looking for? Or how am I going to ask a parent to commit to me? And am I going to be able to deliver?
Mhm.
Well, I mean, do you put all of that just on yourself like that? Maybe that's not fair to you and not fair to the parent, but those are the things that run through my mind sometimes.
Which is why iterate, iterate, iterate. Do something imperfect, get it out, have it be
Yeah.
small. See what it's like. Put yourself out there. Get that first client. See what it's like to talk to a parent, and then did it go badly? Which most of the time it doesn't. But if so, what can you learn from it? If it went well, oh my God, this parent is happy
Yeah.
to pay me this. Oh my God, so iterate.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because I've talked to parents plenty of times. I mean, I talked to parents and I've had tough conversations with parents, when I was a school counselor. As a teacher, I've had to do that. Not so much, with college students, but college students present their own challenge. They are uh uninterested, in that sense, and it's still trying to connect the dots. And then there are times where, like, I have the best lesson and they are looking at me like, what time is it? Is it time to, I mean, you know that you just putting in seeds that will be sprouted later on, So I'm aware of it, it's just that you do have to sometimes, like I said, give yourself some grace and be kind to yourself. And then also that expectation, because I just assumed that I was just gonna fly through everything because I've got the checklist. I already know what's coming up and what's supposed to be done. But then, just life stuff will get in the way, or some of the things on the module require me to think a little bit more, or to try to move what I've been thinking about, like here, and then bring it down and make it concrete. And so that I can say has made me really start thinking about how to shape my business and what I want it to look like, in a way that I hadn't done it before. Because it's one thing to just say, oh, I want to be an academic coach. Well, what does that look like?
Yeah. Like the fantasy desire
Yes.
versus the concrete.
Yeah.
Working towards something.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
yeah.
we here we are just chatting, and this is an example of imperfect action because I don't edit these things, so the people are just gonna have to wade through a long conversation, but we're enjoying chatting with each other, so I'm letting it be okay that it's not
right. Yeah.
concise chat because it's fun. But before we go, I want to make sure that you share, if you want to, what your vision is for who you're really excited to serve once you become an academic coach. Has that, I mean, there was a couple of groups of students when you first came on that you were excited about, and maybe that has shifted or not, but why don't we end here by you just sharing, like, who are the young people that you really want to usher into the future?
So I really like working with students who are first generation college students. I really like that. I really like that group. Underserved populations. And at the end of the day, it's just me being of service and pouring into a young person, uh, so that they can, move forward and flourish. But I enjoy that group because a lot of times they don't come from an environment where they have the foundational principles or have an awareness, and they may learn it as you learn it as you go along. But I just like my business is called Academic Strategies, because you don't really have to be, all things considered, you don't have to necessarily be smart to get to your goals or to get to college or trade school. You just need strategy. And that strategy will move you forward. Now, it doesn't mean you won't work hard, but you need that strategy to do that. And so with that group, I know that when I'm in that classroom and I'm introducing these concepts, then usually the light bulb goes off, or they're understanding what I'm saying. So I like that idea in terms of, like, I don't know if you've ever heard someone say, you've got a finite amount of time where you live. You've got the year or the day that you were born, and then somewhere over here is, when you die. And then what you do with that hyphen, that dash, is what really counts. And so what I want to do with that dash is to pour into someone else, because I know and I believe that those executive function skills and those foundational principles literally will change the trajectory of your life. But they won't just change the trajectory of your life, it'll change it for generations to come. So, but you've got to build on those skills. So I like that idea. I've always been in those kind of environments. When I was an English teacher, when I was a school counselor, I was always in an urban environment with underserved populations, and literally thought this is home, like, so when I'm on that campus and I'm there with someone who would be even today in 2022, and you're the first person to go to college or to, want to get to nursing school, I really like being a part of that.
Mhm.
So, I just that's my jam.
Yeah. Well, and I've been finding out there are more people inside the club who actually were first generation college students and their families than I realized. There are at least three.
Yeah.
Um, and so it could be really fun. So put this in your hopper when you're ready. It could be fun to pull those of us together.
Yeah.
And I know I don't think you were first generation, but you have that
No.
passion for working with
Yeah, I just do.
and
Yeah.
so pull us all together to have a panel discussion about
Yes.
experiences and what
Yeah.
they've learned and what you've learned. And anyway, if that's something you'd love to do, I'd be happy to support that conversation happening.
Yeah, I would like that. Yeah, that is, and it's interesting because, yeah, you're right. I was not a first generation. I grew up in education. My parents,
Me
they
too.
are retired teachers now, and so we all advanced in terms of education, but we have all, from my aunt to my uncle, we have all worked with underserved populations. That is what we've always done.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely be interested in something like that, just because it's where if I don't know anything else, I know that that's where I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
That's where I'm supposed to be.
Well, I think it would be really interesting to have you facilitate that conversation amongst the other educators in the club that are
Yeah.
first generation, as a chance to sort of step into your own thinking and leadership around that in our community.
Oh,
And
I would take that up in a heartbeat.
yeah, well, you just let me know when you want to schedule it and I'll help you schedule it. And it's funny because a lot of people in the club joke, we have this like hashtag Gretchen made me do it. But I come up with these ideas and I'm like, you go. It's work, but okay.
Yeah, that would be fine. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, because I have also realized this too. You can be very good at what you do, like I said, when in the classroom, but then that inner voice that's telling you something, and then you have to just kind of practice and move forward through it. And so, yeah, like, that's something that I would walk into, even though, I may be nervous or anything, but it still, again, keeps me connected, keeps me part of the community, helps me with networking, because, believe it or not, I actually am an introvert, and
I think that's
just to
so
get
funny. That's
out.
why you and I, because I actually am an introvert too.
I am an
You know?
introvert. I am an
We're verbal processors who are introverts.
and nobody believes me,
I
but
know.
I like, after this, like, after that we've talked like this, I'm gonna have to, like, recharge, and
Yeah,
then kind of get back to it. But
yeah,
I mean, I'm not shy necessarily, but
yeah.
I am an introvert, so I have to remember that, which is really what's good about your program, is that for somebody like me, because again, if one of my work values is autonomy, then I tend to think that I can do everything by myself. And I really have to, when there are a lot of calls that you do during the month, which is really, really helpful, because the community is so warm and open, and that I have to make a point to be a part of it, because there is great value in community.
Mhm.
And it goes against my nature, just because I tend to be quiet, because, like, usually what I set my goal to is to try my best to at least say something and contribute in the community, to work myself out of just being quiet,
Mhm.
because it's my tendency in nature to be, just quiet and do things on my own, which you can do.
Yeah, well, and to step into your own business means you have to take up space publicly. You
Correct.
have to learn the habit of doing that. And so I'm so glad you're working on that. And then also, we, the community itself, we are the best, your best referral partners. And so the more you speak up and say something, the more others get to know you, your personality,
Yes.
your strengths, and the more a client comes their way and they think, you know what, that client, Chandra is the one for, not me. And then they pass
Yeah.
it along.
Yeah, that's what's excellent about it. And then me practicing, like literally just doing this is like practice, because my first thought is always to not be on camera, record, uh hard pass. No.
But you're doing beautifully. You're doing beautifully.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we do need to wrap up.
Okay.
So thank you so much for taking the time. And those of you, ooh, do you hear? That's the garbage truck.
Yeah.
Welcome to Oakland, California at 9 a.m. To those of you who stuck with the whole video, thank you for going on the ride with us. I'm
Yes.
just so grateful you're in community. I can't wait to meet you someday and give you a big hug. And maybe on my sabbatical, you'll join me for the world tour part of it. Just maybe.
Yes, I will. I'll come out of my shell then, I can tell you that.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Okay.
take care.
All right. Thank you. All right.